Hi, it's Elise here at Bowman Library, the whole new teen book spotlight. So this week, it's our last week of our 2022 summer reading, Oceans of Possibility. How crazy is that this is the last week? But we still have a whole new theme, whole new badge. There's still activities you can do. You can still track your logging. Make sure you enter those tickets for those prizes because August 10th is the cutoff for all of that stuff. Make sure you remember to do it. But let's dive into our last week. How crazy is that? This week, we are all about possibilities of change. We are taking a look at stories, both fiction and nonfiction. We have some memoirs in here this week that are all about inspiration. What are some possibilities of change you can make, or that you learn about, or opens your eyes to new things, or new perspectives, or new people? After this amazing summer we've had, we're going to end it with these amazing, empowering stories. So let's get started. Our first one for this week is We Are Displaced. Now, this nonfiction book, the first part of it is Malala's story of survival. If you're not familiar with her story, she was a middle school girl growing up in Pakistan, and she was on her way to school one day where she was attempted to be assassinated because there were people that did not agree with girls going to school. So their answer was to then try to kill them. She did survive though, and she has become this incredible worldwide leader and voice for women, girls, and refugees all over the world who are facing their own struggles and difficulties. And that's what this book is about. So the first part is her story, but then she leads us into stories of other individuals from around the world who have been displaced from their homes and they're now refugees. And most of the time, people who are refugees, it's not of their own choosing, it's not their choice, it's outside factors that have made this decision and this life for them. So it's completely out of their hands. Now, this provides a unique look at what it's like to be in their position. Now, in the stories that are shared, there are 8 girls and there's 2 women. They're from all over the world. And you will have your eyes open to what people are going through and enduring all over the world today. Like, this is a real issue today. There are refugees all over the world. Information is shared on what you can do to make a difference, even right here in our local community, because there are refugees coming into the United States that are moving here. We have refugees right here in Winchester. So I encourage you to explore, read this relevant read, which will make you have even more empathy, open your eyes. Maybe you don't even realize this type of stuff is going on over the world. An incredible look at this. This is We Are Displaced. Vinyl Moon. So Angel finds herself being uprooted from California to living in Brooklyn with her uncle after a violent incident with her boyfriend leaves her arm in a sling. She's physically injured in this situation. Now, hoping that this will be a good change, Angel finds herself starting a brand new high school, but she feels that she doesn't fit in. She's completely different from everyone else, from what she wears to how she talks, even what she likes to eat. She doesn't know where she belongs. It's going to school, though, the one place where she doesn't feel like she belongs, going to school, though, that she finds herself enrolled in this morning advisory class in which there are 7 other girls also in this class. And she soon starts to find that this is her place. This is where she starts finding strength and stability. And she's able to relate to everyone else in this class as they are all struggling with their own pain. And they soon start to lean on one another for strength and to get through life and get through their day. Now, you will follow Angel through her school year. You will see her share, you will see her grow as an individual and in her relationships with these other girls, with her family, and she comes into her own person. Now, this impactful and uplifting story is one that everyone can relate to in some way, shape, or form, but you will be so encouraged reading and seeing Angel's growth through this story. This is also filled with music. There's some awesome playlists the author has included that you can get yourself even more immersed into the story. This is Vinyl Moon. Walk Toward the Rising Sun. So Dwani grew up in Sudan during the Second Sudanese Civil War, which took place in the 1990s. And this is a true story. This is his memoir. He soon finds himself in this untenable position as having to help his family, and he becomes what is known today as a lost boy. he was a child soldier. At the age of 13, he was forced into the army to fight in this civil war. At 13, he has no place being in this situation. But in this memoir, Dworny takes you through his life in and out of refugee camps. He finds himself in neighboring countries such as Ethiopia. And even though it's not what his family wanted for him, he has to become this child soldier. You will read about his time and his experience that he had during the Civil War and how he survived the Civil War. And eventually he finds himself on this journey out of Africa through Kenya, and this heart-wrenching journey to the United States where he becomes a refugee. And it's not an easy journey. He does it alone. He finds himself suffering with PTSD, and he doesn't know what to expect once he gets to the United States. He has no idea what he's supposed to do. It was there in the United States, though, that he starts to realize that he could help others who were also struggling like he was, whether it was with PTSD or bringing awareness what was going on over in Africa with boys like him, because no one was talking about it. Whether they weren't aware of it or not, no one was talking about it, and he decided he needed to do something about it. He needed to bring a voice to the situation. Now, this heart-wrenching story is one that will inspire you to make a difference as well. And it's possible, like, no matter what that you've gone through, you have history, you have experiences, you can make a difference. This is Walk Toward the Rising Sun. Brave Face, a memoir. So Hutchinson, Sean David Hutchinson, is an amazing young adult author, and he decides, he's written many books previous to this one, but in this one he decides he is going to write about what his life was like growing up for him at age 19, when he was depressed and gay, but those things are not related. He makes that clear, not related. It's the 1990s, and he's growing up in the Deep South. As someone who thinks that they may be gay, that's already difficult enough. And then you throw in high school, you throw in emotions, stress. Hutchinson soon finds himself depressed, self-harming at times even, and even considers suicide. You will be along with him on this journey as he comes to love himself and accepting that sometimes just being okay is okay. You don't have to be perfect. Not everything has to be going well. You can just be okay. His blatantly honest sharing of his life is one that everyone can relate to in some way, shape, or form, even if it's not the exact situation you may be in. But you need to know it's okay to be okay. This eye-opening memoir, even if you haven't read anything by him, any of his fiction, you will know him by the end of this book. This is Brave Face. Nowhere Girls. Okay, so I will tell you this one is can be a pretty tough read given the content of it. There are scenes of rape, sexual assault, that type of deal, but it is an empowering story. So Grace is the new girl in the small town of Prescott, Oregon, having to leave Kentucky after her pastor mother is run out of their conservative church for her views that were deemed to be too liberal. Moving into this new house, she starts exploring her bedroom. She goes in the closet and she finds in the bedroom that there are words that have been carved into the wood there that hint at suicide and wanting to kill oneself. Starting to ask around, Grace soon learns that the house belonged to Lucy Moynihan, whose family had to leave town after Lucy accused some popular boys of raping her at a party. No one believed her though, and because of that, they had to leave town, even though the boys still continue to brag online about their conquests. Now, Grace cannot believe that nothing was done about this. No one took Lucy's side, nothing was done. And she soon finds herself joining forces with these two other girls that she meets at school, Rosina and Erin, and they decide they're going to do something about this situation because this is a culture that is running rampant in their high school. They form this anonymous group which empowers their female classmates to stand up for themselves and to fight back against this accepted culture that, again, is in their school that they think rape and sexual harassment is okay, because it isn't. Told in multiple points of view, this timely read is one that is something that unfortunately does take place in schools around the country, maybe even in our community. And it does need to be spoken out against, and this book may just provide you the encouragement to just do that. Again, there are some sensitive topics in here, but they are relevant to unfortunately, our world and situations today. This is the Nowhere Girls. And our last one is the Stonewall Riots coming out in the streets. Now, this nonfiction book takes us through the events leading up to, as well as like the history of what's become known as the Stonewall Riots, as well as what happened like during this time and then after. Now, in June 1969, and this had been going on before, police would raid well-known establishments in which like the gay and lesbian community would hang out. Bars, clubs, gathering places, that sort of stuff. It is in June 1969 when they raid an establishment that they say is mob-owned, that's the excuse they're giving for it, but it's known as the Stonewall Inn. And this was a place in Greenwich Village in New York City where members of the gay community would hang out. It was after this raid, though, and this has happened numerous times before, that the LGBTQ plus community decided they had enough, and they decide they're going to start having a series, and they were pretty much spontaneous demonstrations, and a lot of them unfortunately turned violent, but they decided they needed to start speaking out that this wasn't right, this treatment wasn't fair, wasn't equal, wasn't just. They just wanted to be seen as equals. They didn't deserve this. This movement was not just a one-time thing, but what this event did was it actually caused people to talk about what was going on, which hadn't really been done before. Now, this author examines the aftermath through the following decades, but what I appreciate about this one even more is it's filled with so many primary sources that we normally don't see. There's photographs, there's interviews, there's newspaper articles, there's some intensive timelines, bibliographies in here, as well as some awesome author notes, which I encourage you to read as well. This doesn't just examine this one time in our history, but it also examines other social issues and movements that were going on at the time as well. An amazing nonfiction book about a time that people decided they were going to stand up for what they believed in. May encourage you to stand up for what you believe in as well. This is the Stonewall Riots. So these are 6 of the books we have here at the library. They're all about possibilities of change. So I encourage you to come out, check out one of these, or we can help you find whatever book you're looking to explore that may spur some change in you. I encourage you to tune back next week. We have a whole new teen book spotlight, and I hope you have an amazing week.